On December 3, 2025, a routine Navy surveillance flight suddenly picked up something no one was prepared for. A single sonar ping, then another, then 9 massive signatures moving in perfect formation beneath the surface. Not militias, not fishermen. 9 cartel-built narco-submarines advancing like a covert underwater fleet. How did a drug cartel assemble something this organized and this dangerous? And could the Navy stop them before they slipped into international waters? This is the unbelievable operation that almost spiraled out of control. On 3 December 2025, the U.S. Navy intercepted what is perhaps the largest organized smuggling operation they had encountered. Somewhere around 400 miles off the coast of Colombia, a U.S. Navy P8 Poseidon surveillance plane had located 8 to 9 large bogies in the water. Initially believed to be some form of organized militia, they soon discovered it was in fact 8 to 9 narco-submarines. For those who do not know what a narco-submarine is, it's a boat that is modified to act like a semi- or fully submersible vessel. Basically, a submarine. But the only difference between an actual submarine and narco-subs is the fact that they cannot dive very deep. It was Petty Officer Second Class Daniel Park who detected the unusual formation below the surface and did a thorough sweep using sonar. They discovered that there were a total of 9 narco-subs, each around 60 to 80 feet in length, equipped with professional-grade marine diesel engines. It was odd to see 9 submarines together, as narco-subs often traveled alone to avoid drawing attention and were not equipped for any sort of open water conflict. On sending encrypted coordinates to the U.S. Southern Naval Command, the base used satellite imaging to confirm what the officer had discovered, and they had come to realize that the subs were moving in formation, and they were able to confirm that the submarines had been communicating between themselves using encrypted radio signals and had GPS tracking and radar detection systems fitted onto them, a step up from the crude subs that they usually use. The U.S. Navy realized that if they had radar detection on them, it wouldn't be too long before they picked up the pace and tried to head for international waters, where the U.S. would think twice about intercepting them. Narco-subs had stepped their game up in the past few years, as the U.S. Navy started to find it more and more difficult to intercept them. International arms suppliers had enabled the cartel, who earned billions every year, to upgrade their submarines, and it was now standard procedure to have an 8-man crew on these subs, who all had designated roles from captain and navigator all the way to deckhands. These gangs who ran the boats were paid a rough estimate of $200,000 per run. The reason they were paid such a high amount lay in the fact that once these subs were out on open waters, nobody could come to save them, and they were all on their own. But $200,000 was not even a dent in the cartel's accounts, as the estimated profit that the cartel would make from a run like this was estimated to be anywhere around $2 to $3 billion. The U.S. Navy, on realizing that this convoy was heading toward severely complicated naval jurisdiction zones, immediately deployed all of its assets to intercept this fleet. The USS Michael Mansour, a Zumwalt-class guided missile destroyer, was immediately given the order to get in pursuit and intercept the convoy. The goal: ensure that the convoy in no way crosses the 200 nautical mile mark. While the Michael Mansour was ordered to lead the pursuit, other U.S. Navy assets were simultaneously deployed to ensure that any evasive maneuvers undertaken by the target would become futile. The Coast Guard immediately deployed their cutters, Bertholf and Stratton, to cover the tracks left by the convoy, while the Navy deployed 2 of their MH-60 Seahawk helicopters with anti-submarine capabilities for aerial surveillance, along with a crew to board the ships once they intercept them. The P-8 that initially caught the convoy stayed on top of them the entire time, sending coordinate updates every few minutes. The convoy had hoped to slip by the U.S. Navy under the cover of night, but they were hot on their tail. And by 2:30 a.m., friendlies had made contact with the convoy, and the Mansour had intercepted the first submarine, illuminating it with searchlights. The cartel tried to disperse and submerge immediately, but were unable to. The sub surfaced and the crew was immediately arrested. The haul of cocaine from this single boat? 3.8 tons. The cartel had sent out a warning to the remainder of the narco-subs in the meantime to scatter and make a run for it. The Berthold would intercept one submarine and arrest the entire crew, who also had one Chinese national with them, which made the Navy aware that this operation was much bigger than they anticipated. 2 down, 7 left. The Seahawk intercepted another submarine within a few minutes and sent out warning calls via loudspeakers to immediately stop their engines. When the cartel refused to slow down, the Navy deployed its divers and they attached magnetic tracking devices on the sub and ran them down till they burned through all their fuel and then proceeded to arrest them with another 2 tons of cocaine. But the next submarine that the Stratton had intercepted decided that it would be better to destroy what they had than let the U.S. have it and open the flood valves and scuttled the boat along with themselves. But the Coast Guard divers didn't let them go that easy and pulled the entire crew from the ship before it sank to the bottom of the ocean. By the time the 4th submarine had been intercepted, the sun began to rise as the clock struck 6 a.m., giving the Navy a better chance of tracking and destroying the submarines in a much easier manner. Submarine 5 was tracked by the P8 Poseidon using its advanced radar tech and was intercepted by the USS Mansour. When the cartel realized the destroyer was right on top of them, they gave up and surrendered. The cartel had underestimated the Army and realized over 80% of their purchase had been seized or lost, and only 2 subs remained. The Sinaloa Cartel had reportedly purchased all of this cocaine for a whopping $140 million, and each submarine at $15 million. The cartel would be able to realize its losses if even one sub made landfall and the product was transferred to the requested parties. But to do so, they would have to lose the Navy, who was hot on their tail. 2 of the subs proceeded to shut down their engines and submerge so as to avoid giving out any sort of heat signature. But the Mansour used its sonar and detected the submarines lying motionless on the ocean floor. They used the opportunity to send divers and attach non-explosive warning charges. The subs eventually surfaced and surrendered, leaving 2 remaining. They tried to make a dash for the 200 nautical mile boundary. The naval forces split and the Mansour pursued the closest ship and intercepted it after a standoff. But the last ship had crossed the boundary into Colombian waters, severely complicating matters. Commander Mitchell of the Mansour had immediately called the Colombian government and requested permission to intercept the sub. After a few calls to the embassy, the Navy got the go-ahead. The last sub was captured at 8:29 a.m., with the last stash of cocaine being confiscated. In total, the Navy had arrested over 67 crew members and slapped charges for conspiracy to distribute cocaine and international drug trafficking under U.S. law. The Navy had interrogated the crew members, who revealed that they had conspired with members of the DEA for this operation. As of 9 a.m., the cartel's investment of nearly $300 million was seized by the Navy, who showed them once again that the U.S. is not to be trifled with. When the cartel thought that they had finally outgrown the tactics of the United States, the Navy reminded them who's boss. What do you think of this confrontation that the U.S. Navy had with the Sinaloa Cartel? Did they handle it effectively, or could they have done a better job intercepting the smugglers? Let us know down in the comment section.